Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in life when you realize that the hardest promises to keep are not the ones you make to the world, but the ones you whisper to yourself in the quiet. You showed up for everyone else. You met deadlines, lifted others when they were tired, smiled when your own heart felt heavy, but somewhere along the way you started breaking appointments with your own becoming. And today isn't about shame, it's about awakening. Consistency for yourself is not about perfection, it's about permission. Permission to begin again when you fall off. Permission to choose discipline even when motivation clocks out early. Permission to honor the version of you that is still in process, still healing, still learning how to stand without apology. Because the truth is, you don't lack ability. You've been lacking alignment. Consistency is a promise you keep to yourself even when no one is watching. And that truth hits differently when you realize how often you have shown up strong for the world but quietly disappeared on yourself. It's easy to be consistent when there is applause, accountability, or pressure from the outside. It's much harder when the room is silent, when no one is checking, when quitting would go unnoticed and excused. But the most powerful growth doesn't happen on stages or timelines. It happens in private moments where you decide whether your word to yourself means something or nothing. Every time you say you're going to start and don't, something inside you takes note, not in anger, but in memory. Your spirit remembers the patterns you repeat. It remembers whether your yes carries weight or whether it changes with your mood. And that's why inconsistency hurts so deeply, because it's not just about unfinished goals, it's about fractured trust with yourself. When you break promises to yourself, you don't just delay progress, you weaken belief in your own voice. Consistency is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't always feel powerful in the moment. Most days it feels ordinary, repetitive, even boring. It looks like choosing the same healthy decision again when no one would blame you for choosing comfort. It looks like honoring a commitment, even when the excitement that birthed it has faded. It looks like staying when leaving would be easier and starting again when quitting would feel familiar. Many people think consistency is about willpower, but it's actually about identity. It's about deciding the kind of person you are becoming and aligning your actions with that truth. When you see yourself as someone who keeps their word, even to themselves, your behavior begins to shift. You stop negotiating with your own discipline. You stop asking how you feel before you show up. You understand that feelings are temporary, but character is built through repetition. Keeping promises to yourself is an act of self-respect. It tells your mind and your heart that you are safe in your own hands, that you can be trusted, that when you say you will try, it doesn't mean maybe, and when you say you will start, it doesn't mean someday. Over time, these small kept promises begin to restore confidence, not the loud performative kind, but the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can rely on yourself. Inconsistency often disguises itself as grace. We tell ourselves we're being patient, flexible, understanding, when really we are avoiding discomfort. Real grace doesn't excuse you out of growth, it walks with you through it. Real compassion doesn't release you from responsibility, it strengthens you enough to carry it. Consistency doesn't mean you never fail, it means failure doesn't get the final say. You may stumble, pause, or slow down, but you return. Again and again, there is something sacred about showing up when no one is watching. In those moments, you are not performing, proving, or pleasing, you are simply choosing alignment. And alignment builds integrity. Integrity builds self-trust. Self-trust builds momentum. Momentum builds transformation. It all starts with one quiet decision to do what you said you would do. Even if it's imperfect, even if it's small, even if it takes longer than you imagine, your future self is paying attention to what you do today. Not the grand gestures, but the daily follow through. The consistency you practice now becomes the evidence you lean on later when challenges arise. When doubt tries to tell you that you can't handle what's ahead, you will remember the times you kept going without witnesses, without validation, without guarantees. Those moments become your proof. Consistency is not about being rigid or harsh with yourself. It's about being reliable. It's about becoming someone whose word has weight, whose intentions turn into actions, whose dreams are supported by discipline. When you begin to keep promises to yourself, you stop chasing motivation and start building mastery. You stop waiting to feel ready and start moving as you are. You stop abandoning yourself in hard moments and learn how to stay, breathe, adjust, and continue. Motivation fades, but discipline rooted in purpose will carry you forward, especially on the days when your energy is low and your emotions are loud. Motivation is often treated like a reliable companion, but it was never meant to lead your life. It shows up when things feel new, exciting, or rewarding, and quietly slips away when the process becomes demanding. If you build your consistency on motivation alone, you build on something unstable. Discipline, when connected to a deeper purpose, becomes the structure that holds you steady when motivation disappears. Purpose gives discipline meaning. Without purpose, discipline feels like punishment. It feels like pressure, like obligation, like something you force yourself to do just to prove you're strong enough to endure it. But when discipline is anchored to your why, it becomes devotion. You don't wake up asking if you feel like showing up. You wake up remembering why showing up matters. Purpose reminds you that the discomfort you feel today is connected to the freedom you want tomorrow. There will be days when your body is tired, your mind is distracted, and your heart feels uncommitted. Those are not signs that you should stop. They are signs that discipline needs to take the lead. Discipline doesn't argue with emotions. It moves despite them. It doesn't wait for conditions to be perfect. It works with what is available. It understands that progress is built through rhythm, not intensity, and that showing up halfway still counts as showing up. Many people confuse discipline with control, but true discipline is actually about alignment. It aligns your actions with your values. It aligns your habits with your vision. It aligns your daily choices with the life you say you want. When your discipline is rooted in purpose, you stop feeling like you are fighting yourself. You stop seeing consistency as a battle and start seeing it as a bridge between who you are and who you are becoming. Motivation is emotional, but discipline is intentional. Ons change daily, sometimes hourly. If your consistency depends on how you feel, your progress will always be inconsistent. Discipline, however, is a decision you make in advance. It's a commitment you honor even when the emotional reward is delayed. It's choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term relief, knowing that relief fades quickly, but fulfillment compounds over time. Purpose-driven discipline also creates resilience. When you know why you're doing something, setbacks don't feel like stop signs, they feel like detours. You don't quit because the path got uncomfortable. You adjust and continue. You understand that growth requires endurance, and endurance is built by repeatedly choosing what aligns with your purpose, even when it's inconvenient. Discipline teaches you how to trust yourself in moments of resistance. Each time you follow through without motivation, you send a message to yourself that your commitment is not conditional, that you don't abandon your goals when they stop entertaining you. Over time, this builds inner strength, not the kind that looks impressive to others, but the kind that keeps you grounded when life tests your resolve. Purpose is what keeps discipline from becoming empty routine. It reminds you that the habits you're building are not random, they are intentional steps towards something meaningful. When you lose sight of purpose, discipline becomes fragile. But when you reconnect to why you started, discipline becomes sustainable. You stop needing constant encouragement because your direction is clear. There is freedom in discipline that most people overlook. It frees you from the chaos of indecision. It frees you from the cycle of starting and stopping. It frees you from waiting on inspiration to live intentionally. Discipline rooted in purpose doesn't restrict you, it stabilizes you. It becomes the quiet force that moves you forward when nothing else will. Motivation may open the door, but Discipline rooted in purpose keeps you walking through it day after day. It carries you through the mundane, the difficult, and the unseen seasons of growth. It keeps you steady when your emotions waver and your circumstances shift. And as you continue to move forward, guided not by feeling but by meaning, you begin to realize that the very discipline you once resisted has become the strength you rely on most. Small daily choices create the strength you've been praying for, even though they rarely look powerful in the moment. Most people expect strength to arrive suddenly in a breakthrough, a bold decision, or a dramatic turning point, but real strength is quieter than that. It is built slowly through ordinary decisions made consistently over time. It forms in the space between intention and action, where you choose what aligns with your growth instead of what satisfies your comfort. Every day presents you with moments that seem insignificant. The choice to get up when you want to stay in bed, the choice to follow through when it would be easier to delay, the choice to respond with patience instead of reaction. These moments don't feel like they matter, but they are shaping your capacity. Strength is not created in extremes, it is created in repetition. What you do repeatedly becomes what you can handle. Many people pray for resilience, confidence, discipline, and clarity, not realizing that those qualities are built through practice, not gifted instantly. You develop resilience by enduring small discomforts without quitting. You develop confidence by keeping small promises to yourself. You develop discipline by choosing structure over impulse, one day at a time. The strength you want is not missing. It is being formed every time you choose growth over ease. Small choices teach your nervous system that you are capable. They train your mind to stay present instead of overwhelmed. When you consistently choose actions that support your values, your mind begins to trust you. That trust turns into stability, and stability turns into strength. You stop feeling like life is happening to you and start feeling like you can meet what comes. There is power in consistency that is often underestimated. People admire dramatic transformations, but those transformations are always built on quiet habits. The person who appears strong in crisis is usually someone who has practiced showing up in small ways long before the crisis arrived. Strength is not reactive, it is prepared. And preparation happens in the daily decisions no one applauds. Small daily choices also reduce the pressure of perfection. When you focus on what you can do today instead of what you should achieve eventually, growth becomes more accessible. You stop overwhelming yourself with unrealistic expectations and start building momentum. Momentum is created when effort feels manageable, and manageable effort repeated daily becomes mastery. Choosing small actions keeps you connected to the present. Instead of getting lost in fear about the future or regret about the past, you anchor yourself in what you can control right now. This presence builds emotional strength. It teaches you how to regulate your responses, how to stay grounded when things feel uncertain, how to move forward without needing everything to be clear. Many people wait until they feel stronger before they act, but strength comes from acting. You don't become disciplined and then show up. You show up and become disciplined. You don't become confident and then speak. You speak, and confidence grows. Each small choice becomes evidence that you are capable of more than you thought. Over time, that evidence accumulates and your self-belief deepens. Small choices also create integrity. When your actions align with your intentions daily, even in small ways, you experience inner peace. You no longer feel divided between who you say you want to be and how you actually live. This alignment is a form of strength that cannot be shaken easily. It gives you clarity, direction, and emotional steadiness. The strength you've been asking for is being built in moments that feel unremarkable. It is forming when you choose consistency over intensity, patience over urgency, faith over fear. Every small step you take is reinforcing your capacity to handle what's next. You may not see immediate results, but something is shifting beneath the surface. When life eventually asks more of you, you won't rise to the occasion by chance. You will rise because your daily choices prepared you. The strength you prayed for will feel familiar because you've been practicing it all along, one small decision at a time. quietly becoming the person who can carry the weight of their purpose. You don't need perfection to be consistent. You need commitment, because perfection has a way of convincing you to quit before you even begin. Perfection sets standards so high that progress feels impossible unless everything aligns exactly the way you imagine. Commitment, on the other hand, meets you where you are. It doesn't ask for flawless execution. It asks for continued participation. It asks you to stay engaged even when the process is messy, slow, or uncomfortable. Perfection focuses on outcomes, but commitment focuses on presence. When you chase perfection, you measure your worth by results and timelines. When you choose commitment, you measure your growth by effort and follow through. Commitment allows room for learning, adjusting, and evolving. It understands that consistency is not about getting it right every time, but about returning every TI. You drift. Perfection often disguises itself as high standards, but beneath it is fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. That fear keeps many people stuck in planning mode, waiting for the right moment, the right resources, the right version of themselves. Commitment breaks that cycle by saying, start anyway, start imperfect, start unsure, start before you feel ready. Consistency built on commitment is flexible, not fragile. When perfection is your foundation, one mistake can make everything feel ruined. But when commitment is your anchor, mistakes become information instead of evidence of failure. You don't quit because you missed a day or fell short of a goal. You recalibrate and continue. Commitment teaches you how to recover without self-punishment. There is a freedom that comes with letting go of perfection. You stop overthinking every move and start taking action. You stop waiting for ideal conditions and begin working with what you have. This freedom creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence makes consistency sustainable. None of that requires perfection, only a willingness to keep showing up. Commitment also shifts your relationship with discipline. Instead of seeing discipline as rigid or restrictive, you see it as supportive. It becomes the structure that holds you steady when emotions fluctuate. You don't need to feel inspired every day. You need to be committed to your direction. Direction matters more than speed, and consistency matters more than intensity. Perfection creates pressure, but commitment creates stability. Pressure drains your energy because it's rooted in fear of getting it wrong. Stability conserves your energy because it's rooted in trust. Trust that you can handle the process. Trust that growth takes time. Trust that setbacks are part of development, not proof that you're failing. Why? Commit to yourself. You stop making excuses to escape discomfort. You accept that discomfort is part of growth, not a signal to stop. Commitment allows you to stay in the process long enough to see results. Many people don't lack talent or potential. They lack the commitment to stay when progress is slow and feedback is uncomfortable. Commitment also builds resilience. Each time you choose to continue instead of quitting, you strengthen your ability to endure. Resilience is not built by avoiding struggle. It is built by staying present through it. Consistency rooted in commitment trains you to handle resistance without retreating. It teaches you how to remain steady even when motivation fades. You don't need to be flawless to move forward. You need to be faithful to the process. Faithfulness looks like showing up on ordinary days. It looks like doing the work even when it doesn't feel meaningful yet. It looks like honoring your commitments without constantly renegotiating them based on how you feel. Perfection promises control, but commitment delivers progress. When you release the need to be perfect, you give yourself permission to grow. Growth happens through repetition, not performance. The more you commit, the more consistent you become. And the more consistent you become, the less power perfection has over your progress. Showing up for yourself builds self-trust and inner authority. And that kind of authority cannot be borrowed, rushed, or performed. It is earned quietly through repeated follow-through. Every time you honor your word to yourself, even in small ways, you reinforce a relationship that shapes how you move through the world. Self-trust is not confidence you talk about. It is confidence you live. It grows when your actions match your intentions consistently enough that your mind and heart begin to believe you. Many people look for validation outside of themselves because they don't yet feel secure within. They wait for permission, affirmation, or reassurance before they act. But when you show up for yourself regularly, you no longer need external approval to feel grounded. You develop inner authority, the ability to make decisions without constant doubt, to stand firm without over-explaining, to move forward without needing applause. That authority is rooted in knowing that you will support yourself no matter what. Self-trust is built in moments that seem ordinary. When you follow through on a plan you made for your well-being, when you stop abandoning yourself for convenience or comfort, when you choose alignment over avoidance. These moments may not feel powerful, but they are shaping how seriously you take yourself. And how seriously you take yourself determines how others eventually respond to you. When you don't show up for yourself, you begin to question your own reliability. You second guess your decisions. You hesitate even when you know what to do. You look outward for direction because inward feels uncertain. But when you consistently keep your word to yourself, something shifts internally. You begin to move with clarity. You trust your instincts because they've been proven through action. Inner authority is not loud or controlling. It is calm. It is steady. It allows you to say no without guilt and yes without fear. It helps you honor your boundaries without apology. That authority comes from experience, not theory. It comes from knowing that when things get hard, you don't disappear on yourself. You stay, you adjust, you continue. Showing up for yourself also heals internal fragmentation. Many people feel divided, pulled in different directions because their actions and values are misaligned. When you begin to show up consistently, alignment starts to form. Your thoughts, intentions, and behaviors move in the same direction. This alignment creates peace, and peace strengthens your sense of authority because you are no longer at war with yourself. Self-trust grows when you stop making promises you don't intend to keep. It grows when you become honest about your capacity and intentional about your commitments. Showing up for yourself doesn't mean doing everything perfectly. It means doing what you said you would do as often as possible. Even partial follow-through builds trust. Even imperfect effort counts when it is sincere and consistent. As self-trust deepens, fear loses influence. You stop being afraid of your own decisions because you know you will respond with responsibility and care. You stop fearing failure because you trust yourself to recover. You stop fearing discomfort because you know you won't abandon yourself in it. This trust becomes your internal safety net. Inner authority also changes how you speak to yourself. Your inner dialogue becomes more respectful, more supportive, more grounded. You stop using shame as motivation and start using clarity. You no longer need harshness to stay disciplined because trust has replaced fear. Discipline becomes an act of self-respect rather than self-control. When you show up for yourself, you teach your nervous system that consistency is safe. You reduce anxiety because you are no longer unpredictable to yourself. You create emotional stability by becoming someone you can rely on. That stability strengthens your presence. People feel it when someone is internally anchored. It's not charisma, it's congruence. Self-trust allows you to lead your own life instead of reacting to it. It gives you the